Remember these? Last year's chameleon seahorses are back. Today, they are the stars of a new under the sea diorama. I'm going to turn this geometric mold into a fantastical resin pen holder. Let's get started. The plan is to create an intricate underwater diorama around the central column using an inverted resin pour. I have prepared all the materials, including a rough circular skeleton that will act as a frame for suspending all the inserts, the seahorses, the weeds, and so on. This frame is crucial for organizing the elements in a visually effective way. Initially, the setup seemed straightforward, but I have a feeling this inverted method might be trickier than anticipated. The underwater scene is populated by these pieces of artificial moss in two complementary shades of green, which I will use to represent seaweed. To start, I need to secure these pieces. Since this is an inverted setup, I am worried about the elements floating up when the resin is poured. I'll use a small amount of UV resin to add weight and stiffness to the stems and secure them firmly to the skeleton. This ensures the pieces hold their structure and remain suspended when the mold is eventually filled with resin. I'll begin populating the frame with the greenery. Next, it's time to place our wonderful seahorses. I'm carefully checking the required height and suspension point for the main seahorse. I'll use UV resin to create a small, invisible prop to attach it to the main skeleton. While placing the elements, I'm also thinking carefully about the composition. For instance, I'm positioning the seahorse slightly off-center from the thickest greenery, as I want the green to frame the seahorse rather than obscure it entirely. I'm applying these compositional details as I attach all these small elements to the ring. I have also decided on the length for the two smaller, adorable seahorses and will add extensions before securing to the main circular frame. With all the plants and sea creatures lined up, it's time to insert the entire skeletal assembly into the silicone mold. This is proving to be much trickier than I anticipated. The mold's opening is quite tight, and the loose, soft seaweed elements are constantly bunching up as I try to push the frame through. This process is putting a lot of strain on the UV resin joints of the skeleton. The insert became a real struggle, leading to several pieces, including one of the main seahorses, breaking off. The breaking intensified the more I tried to force the fit. I eventually had to try and carefully peel the mold open, organize the scenery inside, and then try to fold the mold back over the frame. After multiple attempts and attaching countless broken bits, I have finally managed to secure the assembly inside the mold. Now that the mold is ready, I'll quickly mix my epoxy resin. It's a low viscosity resin that allows for long-term degassing. I'm concerned about the bubbles as the weather is cold. A vacuum pump would have been ideal for bubble extraction for this mix, but I do not have one. The scenery has so many intricate weeds and surfaces, there is a very high chance of air entrapment. Let's hope the resin behaves. With the resin mixed and the scenery checked one last time for loose pieces, it's time to pour. I'll be pouring the epoxy in multiple thin layers, waiting about 5 minutes between each pour to allow any air bubbles to rise and escape. The second major layer will have a little color added to it. I'm doing this partly out of concern that the artificial weeds might leach color into the clear resin, which would spoil the piece. As the resin cured, it probably degassed further, which is what I was hoping for. But the resin level has fallen and left a noticeable gap. I'm going to fill this gap with resin and cover it with some gravel. This final layer will serve two purposes. It will hide the UV resin joints where the weeds and grass are attached to the skeleton. And it will give the composition a visually heavy, light-colored base, completing the underwater look. For those interested in creating something similar, I'm going to quickly go through the materials I used to build this scene. If you'd prefer to jump straight to the finish, feel free to skip to the next chapter for the final reveal. The pebbles are sticking out. I'm not sure if I can sand them. They're not soft like resin. Maybe I'll add another coat to make it level. Or maybe I just let this be. I am liking this pebbly look. Enough waiting. I can't wait to see how it has turned out. Let's get this resin diorama out of the mold. I honestly don't have the words. Visually, this is just so soothing. It's truly beautiful. However, looking closer, the mold was probably a little dirty. I think I may not have cleaned it properly with soap and water after my last layered eco resin project, and that residue has now become a part of the surface. It's a small blemish, but I believe if I sand it down until it's fully polished, it will take care of it completely. I have been diligently sanding the piece, but it seems that some of the seaweed elements are touching the surface. If I continue, they'll become exposed. So, polishing through further sanding is no longer an option. Instead, I'll seal the sides with a UV top coat. Had I anticipated this, I wouldn't have sanded so thoroughly. I would have gone straight for the top coat just after a light surface sand. Because this is a faceted mold, only one surface can be made level at a time. Meaning, I have to work patiently, finishing each face one by one. I wanted to avoid this because with every surface, there is a chance of the resin spilling and ruining the others. It's a lot of tension, but I can't go back in time now. Perhaps I should have just let it be after demolding. After all, I am fairly sure it was a flaw others were unlikely to notice. Nevertheless, here I am, and this needs to be seen through to the end. I'm glad I domed it. It has made the entire look soft, like a pebble on the beach. If I had finished the sanded polish, it would have looked fantastic. But I'm actually digging this look more. The dome has softened the edges, which really suits the calm underwater vibes of the diorama. What do you think? Do you like it? I have been waiting a while to do a deep resin casting, and this was a first for me. There are a lot of micro bubbles. I'm not sure if you can see them, but I can. They aren't big enough to spoil the look though. In fact, they give the water a subtle visual grain. After all, seawater is full of pebbles, bubbles, sand, and tiny things floating about. But eventually, if I'm working on something that needs the resin to be crystal clear, well, we'll cross that bridge when I reach it. My nephew is very fond of aquariums. He actually introduced all the fish in his tank to me by name, which was super endearing. This pen holder is a gift for him. Do you think he'll like it? I hope this was a fun watch for you today. Happy crafting and have a wonderful day.